Hello, my name is Rob from Assent Risk Management. We are consultants for many ISO standards and some other schemes. And we work regularly with ISOQAR, who provide the impartial third-party audits and the certification for our clients. Personally, I started in the IT industry many years ago, working in web design and networking later on. And as the industry evolved, this kind of naturally led to more of an information security focus for people. So we made the transition into consultancy. We were asked by some clients to deal with this new standard at the time, which was ISO 27001. And from there, we, as a company, we expanded across other areas of compliance. So we started to bring in safety, environmental, of course, quality, and some other specialisms that we have, such as business continuity, and later on carbon management. We have a great team here at Assent, a really strong back office who are very knowledgeable about standards and the certification process. And we have consultants all over the country who have expertise in different areas, different standards and industries. So between those three aspects of having people in the right location, with the right expertise for the subject and the industry knowledge related to the client that they're going into, I think we're pretty well covered. ISOQAR was actually one of the first certification bodies that I dealt with when we first had a client going through the process. And we've worked with them consistently over many years and obviously still do. I think the communication is generally pretty good with ISOQAR, and we have some people in their back office that we know directly and we have contacts for, so we can reach out directly to solve any queries or any issues that might come up, either with us, for us, or with the client. Most importantly, I think for any certification body, the auditors are pretty good and provide a consistent approach to audits. So we know what to expect when ISOQAR are coming in, and we can prepare the client for that experience. So that's really important to us. But also, I really like the fact that ISOQAR hire many auditors from the armed forces, or people leaving the forces. I think they tend to have a really good analytical approach to audits, but also I think they have a really good sense of perspective. Coming from the armed forces, they bring a lot of value into the civilian life, and we always enjoy working with those and all the auditors wherever they originate from with ISOQAR. Every organisation is different, of course, and the way that we approach implementing a standard is going to vary depending on that organisation. That's why I think the initial calls that we do and the scoping exercise with clients is essential, because that's where we really understand the client's unique needs and expectations. So from there, we would tailor a solution around how that client operates currently, and any tools that they might have, so software solutions or any good practice that they're already doing. We want to enhance that and make the most of it, rather than putting in lots of new stuff for their teams to get used to. As a consultancy, we break everything down into really simple steps. So we've refined some project plans over the years, but obviously that is adapted for every organisation uniquely to their needs. And our consultants are there every step of the way to provide advice and support on each item that we need to tick off. I also like to think we're completely client-centric, so we recommend only the tools and the partners that we think will work best for them, and then we can build on that over time to achieve this continual improvement, which is so important in the standards. I think the biggest variable among clients is the amount of resource they have in-house to manage these standards, so both at the implementation stage but also on an ongoing basis, because you can't just leave these management systems alone. You have to live and breathe them to get the real benefits from them. So I think many of the clients come to us for the resource of a consultant as much as the knowledge that our consultants have. There's just not enough hours in the day for them. So we can completely handhold them through the process and really get to know their teams and their operations and add value that way. But in contrast, others are much more focused on doing it themselves, and they just need a bit of a top up in terms of resource or a little bit of knowledge. So in those cases, we tend to provide more of a knowledge transfer solution. So we help to upskill their team. We can advise them on where the common pitfalls are when you go through these implementations and these certifications. So I think there's a lot of value in that too, in that sort of DIY process for them. But either way, we have a pretty high success rate of retaining a relationship with all these clients after their certification has completed. As a minimum, we would tend to do internal audits because being an outside, impartial a consultancy firm, we can add value there. We can test their systems, make sure they've got evidence to back everything up, and that supports their ongoing certification. But we also, our support goes all the way up to monthly or even weekly support sessions, calls, meetings. So we can provide almost a complete outsourced solution as well if needed. So yeah, a wide range of different styles to suit the client. ISOQAR have a broad range of services and capabilities, which is really good for the clients and for us as consultants, because often we might start with one particular standard, but over time the client needs more added onto that. And also they might have a location in the UK, but then they might have others elsewhere that need servicing, and ISOQAR are pretty good at doing that. But as a consultancy, we are impartial when it comes to selecting a certification body. So we are client driven, the client makes the decision, and if they didn't have a preference, we would always put forward 3 options that we feel would meet their needs. But when we do that, ISOQAR tend to perform quite well. I think the clients like their approach. I think the pricing is pretty clear, and that must be competitive because we know that price is a key factor for many of our clients. So clients tend to have a good experience, I think, with ISOQAR. When I started in standards many years ago, although the first one we worked with was ISO 27001, that's really the new kid on the block. The main standard that everyone was interested in was ISO 9001 for quality. There were a handful of others around, of course, but clients didn't really have an interest in that at the time. I think the common clause structure now across all of the management system standards, that's really supported the expansion into other areas and really specific areas of expertise. We're seeing new families of standards now, such as the standard for artificial intelligence, that's ISO 42001, and also expansions within the families of standards. So for 14001, there's 14064, 67, 68, which all cover different aspects of carbon. And obviously that's been driven by international policy, government policies, and supply chain needs to enhance that. So I think that will continue. Not every standard is a big commercial success, so some of the new ones perhaps could go either way. That really depends on support from legislation in different territories, I think, and also how much the supply chain adopts those standards. But we're definitely seeing that ISO 9001 is not the only thing that buyers care about these days. They're really looking at the specific standard areas. The other thing I think that's developing currently is the use of software applications and software tools to manage ISO and some other frameworks, especially in technology and privacy, compliance, that kind of thing. I definitely think these have a place in the market, and if clients can use them correctly and to their full potential, then that's really good. I think there'll always be a need, though, for human-based audit and assessment of these things, because obviously, if a system or a technology goes wrong, then we need to identify that, fairly quickly. So it's interesting times. I'm really looking forward to the next few years and to see how standards and consultancy and certification evolve.